Football Show, NorthJerseySports.com's original multimedia series talking all things football across North Jersey. This is Season 6, Episode 12, and we have a big show tonight. I am Corey Doviak, being joined by my illustrious panel of North Jersey football insiders, starting with the venerable one, Jimmy Avatable. What's going on, Jimmy?
What's up, Core? Big Saturday. Yesterday I had to lay on the couch all day because the crew went out. We saw 3 games, and I'll tell you what, it was really worth all the agony and pain afterwards. But it was a fun day.
Yeah, well, you hitched your wagon to the Brian Carr train, and that means you are going for a ride. Brian Carr, the head Husky, what's going on, pal?
Hey, it was a good ride, though. We saw 2 thrillers. You know, you couldn't ask for better than that. 3 games, 2 good ones. A little cold, but you got to break in between and get warmed up in the vehicle as we travel between games.
Yeah, and listen, we have a great show tonight, actually, shortly, and I want to get to this interview quickly because we already taped it, and it is fun. Well, it was fun to conduct. I hope you guys find it just as fun to listen to because Richie Tuero, the head coach of the Lyndhurst Golden Bears, is going to be the guest tonight. Lyndhurst going to a state sectional final for the first time in 30-plus years, and you can see why they have rallied around their head coach because he's got an infectious attitude, and it's going to be a good listen. We also, because of the mileage put on the car of the football show crew this past week, we have interviews from wins by Hasbrouck Heights, interviews from the win by Riverdale. So we're going to get to all that stuff. But, Bri, quickly, just give us a taste. You were one of the guys who was out on Friday night. I was going to go do a game Friday night. It was like a hurricane, insert name here. I stayed home. You took an opposite tact, and then give just a little taste of the weekend that was in the Brian Carr / Jimmy Avatable stratosphere.
Well, Friday night, it was a little nasty getting over there to Paramus at 6 o'clock. I walked up, there was some ladies, taking the admission money. I said, are they going to play a game tonight? She said, yeah. And it was coming down pretty heavy. I mean, I would prefer to be in my ring gear than out in the field playing, but the kids are tough, and some of these kids are hurt. They wanted to play. Let's go. We want to play. So it was a little rough, and then that game, it kind of calmed down the second half. The rain calmed down as the game went on. By the time we went to my second game and saw the second half of Hasbrouck Heights, it basically stopped raining. So we basically had a dry night in the fourth quarter at Hasbrouck Heights. So it was a little nasty to start, but it ended okay.
All right, now, Jimmy, you give us the taste of Saturday.
I left my house at 11:15, picked up our friend Pat Rice, met Brian and Bobby Main over in Washington Township, and we went over. The first game was 1 o'clock at Park Ridge. Park Ridge, we left in the third quarter. They were ahead 27-6. We drove over the Wayne to see DePaul and Mater Day. It had gotten colder at that point, real windy. We stayed for that game. It was an upset by Mater Day, as everyone knows. And then we said, hey, let's go over and watch Lyndhurst in Verona. In Verona, always a good atmosphere, and we saw a great game there. Lyndhurst wound up winning with about 30 seconds left, so it was a long day. It was but a very fruitful day.
Yes, well, that's the perfect segue, Jim. You are a professional after 6 seasons here on the football show because it leads us right into our featured guest this evening as we welcome in on the Felician University hotline. He's the man in charge of the red-hot Lyndhurst Golden Bears. He is Richie Tuero. Coach, thanks for joining us here on the football show.
It's my pleasure, man. It's an honor to be here.
Well, obviously you don't know us that well because we haven't been around enough. So you'll get to know us and then you'll hate us and you can join the rest of the North Jersey sports community in doing so. But in the few minutes that we have before you realize that we don't know what we're talking about, we will have some fun with you. And listen, as a Palisades Park kid, as an old BCSL National Division rival of the Lyndhurst Golden Bears, congratulations on this. Is a heck of a run, and I see the town is really jumped in behind you. So just explain what's going on down there in Lyndhurst. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, just give us a feeling of what it's been like heading into a state final here, state sectional final.
Honestly, I was saying today to my guys, it like kind of hit me this morning walking into school and seeing everybody, we're going to the state championship, and it's pretty. It's the greatest feeling in the world. It's a dream, It's a dream to get there, and now it's just one more step is winning it.
And it's going to be against Rutherford, the Battle of Ridge Road over there. How about that aspect of it, too? I mean, Southern Bergen County going at it just like the old days.
I mean, you would think you can't get it any better just making it to a state championship, but finding out that, knowing that going into it, if we win, we're going to go see Rutherford, that is just, that's the icing on the cake. You can't make it any better than that. Lyndhurst, Rutherford, it's a rivalry. Our kids have wanted Rutherford all year, and they're going to. And I told them today, I said, "Hey, you got what you asked for, now finish the job."
Yeah, somebody's got to be betting an Italian hero. I mean, there's got to be.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about it.
Right. Something with a little oil and vinegar and maybe some balsamic. All right. Brian Carr, you were there. You saw the 37-34 victory. Jimmy was actually there, too. But, Brian, we'll go to you first. I mean, what do you want to ask the coach?
Hey, Coach, so it's been 35 years since Lyndhurst has made the state final. Just talk about how it feels. And I know you've been there for 5 years as a coach. Talk about what you've done there to get the program where you are today.
Well, I've actually been there 9 years. I was an assistant first, so I was an assistant before, and then this is my 5th year as a head coach. But I also played football at Lyndhurst High School. I'm born and raised in Lyndhurst. It is honestly a dream come true, man. I know how much this town loves the football program and how much they have wanted to see us succeed. And, when I got this job 5 years ago, I said, from day one, it's a culture change. It's not just about having a 500 record or, having a winning season. I said, why can't we be a team that makes the playoffs every year? Why can't we be that team? Why is the expectation different with us when it's the same thing? We have football players. We have tough kids. There's no reason for it to be any different. So the culture change was my biggest thing. And, I said, let's put Lyndhurst football back on the map. And, you know what? A lot of people point to me and say, Coach, the kids are buying in. I said, listen, it takes a village, man. I may be the chief, I may be the head coach, but it takes a village. These kids are buying in. The coaches are buying in. It's not it's us. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Your energy is infectious. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, Coach, growing up in Southern Bergen County in the 80s, everyone knew of the rich tradition in sports of Lyndhurst. Obviously, in the 50s and 60s and into the early 70s, one of the dominant football programs in New Jersey, and Lyndhurst obviously has always been very successful in baseball. Showing up at Verona the other night just before kickoff and seeing how many people from Lyndhurst traveled to the game, it almost looked like you had more people for Lyndhurst than Verona. That's really got to be a really special feeling for you, having coached there and played there.
Oh, no question. I mean, just seeing how many people were there, it was amazing. And then feeling the crowd. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the videos on social media. When we scored that touchdown, the place exploded. There had to be a Richter scale reading somewhere because it was unbelievable. I mean, it was just awesome. And it's just a beautiful thing. One of the best things I would say about this whole thing, getting these messages or phone calls from the old time guys, there's nothing better. There really isn't. I got a text message from Mr. DiGregorio, Coach DiGregorio, Coach D. He was a coach on the 1983 staff, and he sent me one of the best messages ever this weekend. He thanked me, just thanking me for bringing it back. And he said, win or lose, we don't even care. We're so excited just to hear and watch. It's just an honor. It's just an awesome thing.
You know what else it's done? As a Pal Park kid, it's made me hate Lyndhurst again. Thanks, Coach. I was enjoying this until now.
Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, Coach, I want to talk a little bit about the NGIC. We've been talking about a lot. We really like the playoff tournament. One thing I'll mention before I ask my question is there are 5 teams for the NGIC that are in the playoffs, in the finals. two of the teams are assured. There's two teams going to win a state championship. One is up against another team out of the league. But talk about it, what it's like to be with the playoffs, and how does that help the team get ready for the playoff level competition in the NJC playoffs?
Listen, it's the greatest thing. You know, we as coaches all came together, the ADs all came together to make this happen. And it's amazing. I'll tell you right now, we don't get a home game if it's not made the way it is. We don't get our first home playoff game if we don't have to play, Glen Rock and Garfield and beat them. Right. I don't know, who knows who we would have been scheduled with, but, you're not guaranteed playing against two teams with 5 wins. Our points were exponential playing those teams and beating them. So it's just a beautiful thing. And it shows, there's really it's all Group 2 teams anyway, Group 1 and 2. And we're basically, the NJIC basically owns the North, the Group 1 and Group 2 finals in the North anyway. Like you just said. I think Garfield is probably the only Group 3 team in the NJIC. And, it speaks for itself. Just look at what we got going on. How many teams made the playoffs, how many are still in it. And it's year in and year out. It's not just this year. Same as last year and the year before that. Ever since we went to this change, it's just been successful.
Yeah, my great vision and miles ahead when you consider everything else that's been going on around the playoff alignments that we've been talking about the last 2 weeks on the show here. And they still have a lot of work to do. You guys have none. Just tee it up and do it again next year. It's great.
Oh, no doubt, man. No doubt.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, Coach, obviously one of the best-kept secrets up until a couple of weeks ago was your tailback, Peter Portilla. We saw him against New Milford in a losing effort, and we came away very impressed. And obviously since then he's been rolling. He's got over 1,600 yards and 23 touchdowns. But the one impressive thing about him is how durable he is for his size. If you can talk about him a little bit.
He is the man, and like you said, people don't realize he don't come off the field. He's an outside backer. He comes out like 4 plays a game, depending on the situation. The kid's incredible. He works his butt off. I mean, he is in the gym. He's a junior captain. He does anything I ask. I mean, I told him all night, and I'm sure you saw at the end of the game. He was exhausted, but he has a conversation with himself, and he says, I'm getting up, and he just finished the game. I mean, the kid, there's no words. He's got it. The kid is a stud. In putting this, he's a stud. He's a great kid, person, doesn't talk, he has no complaints about anything, comes to work every day, does his job, and that's it.
So great, too. Brian Carr sent an interview that he did with him after the game, and he said, Peter, tell me about that winning touchdown. He goes, I don't even really remember. He was just like, he was ready for a nap, I think, at the end. He's like, stop asking me questions. I got to get out of here. But what an impressive run, too. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny you said that, because you know what he did on the bus ride home? You would think he celebrated.
Yeah.
The kid fell asleep. He was exhausted. He took a nap. That's no lie. No lie.
I do that after conversations with Brian Carr, too, though. Go ahead, Brian. Ask another one. I just want to just make it clear, because I just pulled up the schedule in front of me. I mean, Jimmy mentioned that New Milford game. You lost in double overtime, 14-7, and you haven't lost since. I mean, it starts to build on itself, I guess. And, it's maybe, getting a little, beat Harrison, beat Elmwood Park to get into it. And then you beat Glen Rock. Then you beat Garfield, Hanover Park, Verona. Now you're getting into the big boys of your level. And, that seems to be just what Lyndhurst needed, was that little shot in the arm to get you guys going. And you've been riding the wave since.
No question, man. That's what we said. That was our motto. We said, you know what? Let's taste it now. Because like I was telling you, obviously it's a rivalry with Rutherford. And, the kids want Rutherford. We lost them the last 4 times we played them, playoffs and regular season. And I kept saying to them, I said, listen, you're not supposed to get Rutherford now. You're supposed to get it when it means more. Yeah, sure, we want to win a division. Sure, we want to win the NJSC. Yep. But nothing's bigger than the state championship. So like I told the kids today, I said, hey, you got what you asked for. Okay, here it is. You wanted Rutherford, you got him. There's no need to talk. There's nothing to say. They're the champs. They're the state champions. You want to talk? Beat them Friday night. Then you can talk.
Yes. No, it's the proper message. Go ahead, Brian.
Hey, Coach, I think we have to talk about your line. Your line play really stepped up in the second half, both on defense because they were gashing a lot on their running game. And then in the second half, you were out one of your linemen. He came out on the third quarter. Talk about your line and what they did to kind of make a difference in the game and kind of solidify the win.
You know, I pride myself on those guys. That's I coach the O-line, and we're not the biggest up front, as you see, but the kids are just coachable. You know, nobody knows, but the kid that came in, 67, he's a freshman. That kid's a freshman that came in the game.
Wow.
And, all week, something I learned from my coach at Montclair State, Coach Cincola, was you always got to have that 6th and 7th lineman ready. And that freshman kid, I had full confidence in him. All week, I give him a lot of reps just in case somebody goes down. It was no question. Sending him in the game was easy. And they're coachable kids. They do what they're told. You know, we go over things every week. Like even today, we started on Rutherford. And I honestly was confident knowing he was coming in. I knew he knew what he was doing. You know, he was going to make freshman mistakes. That's normal. But I knew he knew what he was doing. I knew he was prepared. And that's the biggest thing. But you know what, man? The kid's 77, Shane DeAndrea, and I know you remember him from New Milford. He had another one of those blocks on that counter tray. I mean, the kid is just unbelievable in himself. You know, all those kids, they're just coachable, and they work their butts off. They know what it is, to me and the team. And I tell them, you go, we go. It's up to you guys. You go, we go, line. That's it.
Hey, that's great. Jimmy, you got another one for the coach?
Yeah, Coach,
I'm just enjoying this. I like hearing him talk Lyndhurst football. I'm all pumped up over here.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to mention the offensive line. You ran a lot of outside zone, and you ran a lot of counter, and you blocked it very effectively. But I tell you, you mentioned the key to the success of this team was the unselfishness. And the thing that really jumped out to me was your wide receivers blocking downfield. You did an unbelievable job. You know, not worrying about catching the football and if it's being thrown to me. They allowed some of those 8 and 10 yard runs to become touchdown runs because they were just, quite honestly, beating them up on the perimeter.
Listen, and I'm so glad you said that because that is something we stressed so hard this year. We were showing films from last year, showing how, and even in the preseason, explaining to these receivers, guys, you don't understand how important your blocks are. That block could be the difference between a touchdown and a first down and whatever it is. And these kids embraced it. I got to give credit to my coaches because they were all over it, and the kids embraced it, like I said, and they busted their butts and took pride on it to the point where they're trying to lay guys out. It's an awesome thing, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a big difference in the distance of the runs.
Coach, last one for me, and then we'll let you go here. Just a quick, Lyndhurst, a change in the culture down there. It seems like, girls soccer had a great season. Boys soccer made the Bergen County tournament, had a great season, and then you're able to field this competitive football program that's one win away from a state sectional championship. I mean, is this, a good run of kids, just a nice wave of people, or is there, a concerted effort to increase participation, to increase organization? Because we know that you don't build any of these programs just, here come a bunch of kids, let's see what we can do with them. I mean, it's got to be a grassroots effort. And what's going on down in Lyndhurst that you guys you're reaping the rewards?
It's nothing. It's no disrespect to the older coaches that have been around, but the only thing I can really say is, all of our coaches are young, and it's a new generation, new era. We all know that. These kids have to be coached differently and spoken to differently, just the way it is. I mean, it's facts over feelings.
Yep.
I feel like maybe that's what it is. We're able to connect with these kids, and they just believe. Because, like you said, it's not just, hey, this is a good group, let's coach them up. No, we got good kids. Our boys soccer team. I'm a teacher in a building. They're all great kids. The girls soccer team, our cross country. Even going with our cheerleaders, our band, just great kids in our building. A lot of great things in Lyndhurst, and the whole entire, culture and the way these kids are, it's amazing. It really, really is.
Yeah, no, it's high school sports the way it's supposed to be. You're not worried about what's coming next. Listen, if you're good enough, you're going to get to play at the next level anyway, but take advantage of these opportunities, and I think, with your AD there, Mr. Radigan doing a great job too. So it's fun to watch. And either part of the crew, one of the crew, some of the crew will be down there at Tryon Field this weekend. And we wish you the best of luck. It was great having you on here. We're sorry we're late to the party. We're jumping on the bandwagon late, but we're noticing what you got going on down there, and it's really a great story for North Jersey sports.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. And listen, the bandwagon's open.
Right.
We're accepting anybody.
I look like that guy falling outside the back of the chuck wagon at Oklahoma University, hanging on with one arm. But great stuff, Coach. Congratulations so far on what you've got, what's happened so far, and good luck on Friday night.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to all of you. Appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you.
Well, if you didn't enjoy that segment with Lyndhurst head coach Richie Tuero, then you don't like high school football, and you're probably not listening to this anyway, because that was fun. Let's move on now. Let's talk about some of the. We're gonna do a spin around the brackets and talk about all the sectional finals with that are of interest to the NorthJerseySports.com coverage area. But let's quickly take a look back at what happened in the state sectional semifinals, and we'll start with the games where we had them staffed. Brian, where do you want to go, Hasbrouck Heights or Riverdale?
Yeah, we could go to Heights since we're stick with Group 1 for a minute.
Okay.
And Hasbrouck Heights, I got over there in the second half, and Heights was just up by one touchdown. It was 14-6, correct me. And then Heights just took control in the second half. They were up against a really talented Weequahic team. There was a lot of athletes there, a lot of speed, but I think that was their whole game plan, is to shut down that speed. They knew they had to contain them in order to win, and they did a good job doing that. So, I think the big key is Purdy stepped up in the second half. They got a nice drive in the third quarter, and they got that extra touchdown to get the 2-touchdown lead. It was an excellent pass from Spencer Lee to Purdy. It was a little slant across the short, about 10 yards, and I don't know how he fit it in there, but he got it right in there to Purdy and squeezed it in, and Purdy was in for a TD. Then later in the fourth quarter, Purdy got into his running game, and he was really, you could see his motivation. He was highly motivated. Sometimes we see him, and he seems to be a little bit not at a high level, but he was at a high level that night, and Purdy had 2 excellent runs, and the last second run was a touchdown run. He was really running hard and wanted it that night. The defense did well. We did get to catch up with one of the linemen,
yes,
Michael Lorman. And
yep.
What do you want to intro that?
Yeah, let's do Michael Lorman, his offensive line, defensive line, and you can't say enough about the job the Hasbrouck Heights defense did. I mean, listen, 26 points for Hasbrouck Heights, that's good against a talented Weequahic team, as you said, but to only give up 6 is really impressive. Michael Lorman was part of that effort on both sides of the ball. You caught up with him after the game, and here is what he had to say.
Brian Carr here at Hasbrouck Heights after a Hasbrouck Heights big win, 26-6 over a really good Weequahic team. I'm here with Mike Lorman.
Yep.
Offensive line and defensive line.
Sure.
Talk about the game. How'd you feel?
So we came into the game. We were really hyped for it. We knew it was going to be a big challenge, but I think we came out. We were ready to go. It was a good game. It came out at the end.
What'd you guys do to kind of contain their players? They have some really good skill players.
Yeah,
What'd you have to do to contain them?
All of our coaches, they're good, man. They worked us all week. They told us, especially with our defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, and then they're really good. Our coaches, they really help us out. They really show us how to prepare for a team and get better and stuff. So I owe it all to them.
Yeah. Talk about some of your quarterback. Talk about Spencer Lee. Talk about Josiah Purdy.
All of them. All of them, man. All of our skilled players, they're all athletes, in my opinion. All of them. Michael Robertson, he's a great running back. Spencer Lee, great quarterback, especially when he's throwing the ball, especially when he's running the ball. Josiah, he's just a different breed, man. He's a different player.
He had 2 really good runs there that iced the game with the last touchdown. He had 2 powerful runs to get in there. Talk about defense. Jenkins had a couple interceptions. Oh, yeah. He did very well. Yeah, talk about him.
Yeah. He's a good player, but there's times when he's we gotta just pick him back up. But today we didn't have to do that. He came out and he was good. We really owe him to him today. Good.
So now this is 3 years in a row to the final.
Yes.
So the other 2 times have been at MetLife. This year, likely be traveling, and it won't be at MetLife. But the next game, if you win this following game, you'll go to MetLife.
Yeah.
How's it feel? 3 years in a row.
It's just not everyone gets this opportunity. 3 years in a row, that's just crazy, man. We're chasing third rate right now. That's all I'm focused on.
Brian, great job there, giving some love to the boys in the trenches. And now we turn to the head man, the original Boulevard Pork Store maven, Nick Del Calzo, head coach of Hasbrouck Heights. Here's what he had to say after the game.
What's up, Coach? Congratulations. Good job.
Yeah, I think our staff did a great job defending them because they're not an easy team to play.
Kids are quick, very fast.
We'll be playing another team like that next week. So I thought defensively we changed the play. We did a nice little stand early in the game, and I thought our kids played really well there.
What you didn't do was give up the big play.
Every game film we watched, 21. We're up 14-0. It's all you need is a kid to take it to the house, and that kid you saw he almost took it to the house. 21. Kid is quick, 3, 8, all those guys. So. We play games, and at the end of the game, I really didn't want to take it to the house there either, so that's why we kicked it a little short. I'd rather have it there than 100 yards out.
I mean, were you basically defending away from the big play? I mean, you'll give them the 5 and the 6, but, the 3, you're not going to give them the 25?
Yeah, I thought we did a good job there, contain them, contain the quarterback, don't let him run around, make them punt, but, don't go after them, make them punt the ball, and I thought we did a good job there.
Yeah, conditions weren't great, but
it wasn't that. It wasn't that bad.
No,
the beginning of the game, it was drizzling, but it wasn't pouring.
Yeah.
And then it just stopped, so it lucked out. And we're not putting.
Sometimes it's tough though to get them mentally prepared because
they're
thinking about the weather.
Also, when you cancel a game, I've been there too. To mentally prepare them back up. Yeah, I think that works both ways.
Yeah.
What'd you guys do in the second half to shut them out?
Let me tell you something. This kid, 52, I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, he's good.
He's a player. We couldn't block him. We saw it in the first half. We had trouble blocking him, and then we put a guy back on him. But he was making plays all over the place.
It's a hard to pronounce name.
Yeah, I thought Purdy took it to another level a little bit second half.
Right.
He made a great run down here, and then he made a nice
catch in traffic.
Yeah, and hey, not only that, defensively he had some good plays, good hits. I thought we did a nice job.
Yeah, the final touchdown, he had 2 really good runs, tough runs.
He's a good player.
Hard-nosed, tough.
Yes. I thought Robinson, let me tell you something. Robinson and Spencer Lee. Spencer Lee, I don't know what he was throwing the ball, but he did a good job too in these conditions.
Good stuff there with Nick Del Calzo, as always. And now let's move on to the Riverdale game from Friday night. Bri, again, Riverdale loses a game in the regular season, turns around and beats that same opponent in the playoffs. A little bit of a recurring theme for DJ Nymphius and the boys.
Yeah, you're right. DJ, they lose a regular season game, the team, just like this year they lost to Ramapo, and they're going to play a rematch in the past. The same thing would go on with them. They played Riverdale, or they play Ramapo in the regular season and beat them in the playoffs. DJ has a way of, putting it together and coming up with the strategy. It was it was a close game first half. It was only 7-0 at the end of the first half. I think Riverdale, what they did is they figured we got to bottle up the 2 key runners. You've got, Kyle Jacob and Trevor Bopp. Those are the 2 guys that are running for about almost 200 yards a game, and they really did a good job containing them until late in the game when they finally opened it up a little bit. But the offense really stepped up. They just dominated the second half and went on to easily win 28. It was 28-7 with a late score by Paramus when the game was basically over. But Paramus, had a great season, 10-0 going into this game. It was a great season for Coach Sabella. But, Riverdale just had some other things coming for them. And they really stepped up. Quarterbacks, he threw a couple quarterbacks. Gillies is in there. You had Jack Racine scored 2 touchdowns. These guys, they just use all their talent. And it's a dominating team that has a lot of weapons. And that's what everybody else got to figure out how to way to stop them.
Yep. All right, you caught up with 2 guys after the game. The first one is the head coach, DJ Nymphius. Here's how that sounded.
How important was it to get a touchdown right away?
Early in the game?
Yes.
Oh, we did it last time, too, so not long.
7-0.
We were up 7-0.
Not at all.
Not at all. 7-0, and then we stopped.
Then the big second half, though, second drive of the second half, you scored. Make it 14.
That was probably a lot more important. That was probably a lot more important. Give me a heck of a play. I think the first half we've proven that doesn't mean anything. We're like, hey, we're up 7-0 now, we're going to kick our butt. We kind of fall asleep. So I thought really coming out in the second half and playing better. We had some rhythm. I think we got some rhythm at times during the game. We still stuttered a little bit. Playing multiple quarterbacks, trying to figure out what's going. Gilly hasn't been the same since he hurt his ankle. In the first PB game. So, Michael gives a little energy.
When you say you got humbled, are you talking about the first loss to these guys, or
well, I think our whole season's been kind of humbling. It's you're never as good as you think you are. You try and tell kids, look, you got to bring it every day. And there's times I think high school kids go through the motions, and I'm pretty good at addressing that. That I know. So we've got to fix some things. So I think we're getting better. I think we've grown up a lot. Maybe we get a shot at a real good team next week too. I'm sure whoever still stands is going to be pretty damn good.
All right, Brian, and then you caught up with assistant coach Mike Galliano, and I'll let you lead us into this interview. I'm sorry.
It's Coach Galliano, A-L.
All right.
Coach Galliano, yes. Coach Galliano is a former Husky from Duma. Yeah. So this wasn't planned. This was not planned. This was. He said, hey, see you later. Thanks for coming. And I said, hey, wait a minute. So I caught him on the way to the bus as I was going to the car. So, but Coach Jimmy, I've known for a long time. He's a good guy.
Jimmy, do you think there's any way in the world that this is unplanned?
No comment.
Without further ado, go ahead.
No, but Mike's been there a long time, and they've had a very successful program, and Mike's been part of that. And the last time they did not make the playoffs, the Huskies happened to be the team that stopped them. That was 2006. So, but Mike's a great guy from Dumont, and I stay in touch with him and see him around town a lot.
Yes, and if you don't know your Dumont history, now you know. Here's Brian Carr's interview with Mike Galliano.
Mike Galliano from Riverdale. He's also a Husky, so we're two Huskies here talking about football. Mike, talk about the game tonight. The Hawks 28-0 win over Paramus.
28-7.
28-7, yeah. It seemed like 28-0. They scored a late touchdown at the end. I kind of forgot.
It was just a great all-around effort. Our defense, again, our defense has been our strong point for most of the season. We've had some hiccups here and there, but, for the most part, they've really stepped up tonight. We finally were able to get a couple turnovers. And that was our big our big mantra for the whole week. Trying to get a turnover. For our last couple games, we haven't had the opportunity to do so. So tonight was big, and it was just a great all-around effort from every kid in the program. That's our mantra again is just trying to get every kid to participate and through practice and whatever it may be, it's scout team or special teams, whatever it may be. We try to get everybody to participate, and that's what we do.
One of the things I always talk about, Riverdale's made the playoffs. It's been since 2007. Every year they made the playoffs. This is like 4 years in a row, I think, in the finals. So what do you think you do in Riverdale? What do they do over there in Oradell to get these kids to come out and play and be so good on the team?
Coach Infius, he preaches it a lot. We try to get every kid involved, and we do what a lot of other programs would like to do is we try to get more and more kids to just to play and participate, whether it be one way or we try to limit the amount of kids that go two ways. That's how we try to approach it. We try to get the kids involved, and so far it's the last couple of years it's helped us.
We've got a lot of quarterbacks too.
Yeah, our quarterbacks are, they're there 5 days a week in the mornings early before school. On Saturdays, Sundays, they're there talking with Coach Infius and what can we do better and what else they can do to prepare for the upcoming game, and they put a lot of work and a lot of effort into what they do. So that's why we can play so many, and he trusts so many of the kids. So
one other thing I'll ask you, talk about Dumont.
Yeah.
You ever talk to Coach Bird, one of your teammates, when you were there?
No,
I ever talked to Coach?
I haven't seen him. I haven't really talked to him. I followed along this year. I saw that they won a couple games, and they made it obviously to the playoffs.
First year they made the playoffs, by the way?
Wow, yeah.
You know when the last time they made the playoffs?
Probably since I was there, a year
Next
after.
year later.
There,
yeah. 2006.
I still follow along. I still keep up with the Huskies, and hopefully Coach Bird will get it rolling again.
That's all the audio that we have for you this week. A yeoman's effort out of the head Husky, Brian Carr. Dumont's season might have ended, but not Brian Carr's, as we continue along the path to the state sectional championships. And let's do that, continue that now. Jimmy, your home turf, North 1, Group 1. Why don't we start there? You saw Park Ridge's win over Boonton, so you're a first-hand witness. And then we're going to make some picks for state sectional finals in this segment as well. So start us off.
Well, this is the second time we've seen Park Ridge. We saw them in that NJIC semi against Hasbrouck Heights, and they really made Hasbrouck Heights work that night for everything they got. Boonton jumped out 6-0 first drive, went right down the field and scored. They have a very prolific running attack, Boonton, but Park Ridge was able to get them in second and long and third and long, and I believe Boonton had only thrown the ball 20-something times all year, so you know what they want to do. And Park Ridge with Vinny Pinto and Lewis, their wide receiver, really did a great job. And once it became a high-scoring affair, it was all Park Ridge. For Butler's the only team that's had a lead over Hasbrouck Heights at half. And, very, very good team. They played over at Pequannock. Pequannock let them use their turf field because, as we mentioned earlier in the year, their field is a grass field, and with all the rain and mud. Very impressive win over Wallkill Valley. Brian had seen Wallkill Valley the week earlier, really do a number against New Milford with the ground game, their quarterback, and Butler shut him out. I think it's a 50-50 game. I just think that Park Ridge has a little bit more of that capability of a big play. I'm going to go with Park Ridge in a tight game over Butler.
Jimmy, first pick, Park Ridge. Bri, who are you taking?
It's tough. I haven't seen Butler play, so that's the only unknown commodity for me.
Makes it hard.
To make it it's just I haven't seen them, But like Jimmy said, I saw Wallkill Valley and they dominated them, and Wallkill Valley looked very good. So it's a tough one, but I want to kind of keep it interesting. So I may just go with Butler on it. Just to be go the other side of the coin here.
Brian Carr,
like Jimmy said, I think it's a toss-up.
Yeah,
I think it's a toss-up anyway.
While you guys base your decisions on teams you've seen and matchups and potential, the common opponent, everything else, I am the original homer. I stick with teams in the NorthJerseySports.com coverage area. Morris County, not. Bergen County, yes. Tom Curry Jr., a guest on the show this year here on the football show, makes it a no-brainer. Park Ridge in a walk. How about that? Let's go to North 2, Group 1, where, again, I'm going to start with Jimmy because that's where Hasbrouck Heights is, and you love Hasbrouck Heights.
Yeah, another win for Hasbrouck Heights. We've talked about it, multiple times about shifting them out of that section, North 1, Group 1 to North 2, Group 1. Figuring it was a more difficult bracket. It has been, but so far 2 wins last week over a Goodwood Clay team. And you mentioned before their defense in 2 playoff games, they've given up 6 points. So they're doing some good things defensively. They are going to take on Shabazz, who avenged their only loss of the year last Friday night against Cedar Grove. They blew them out 49-6. Make no doubt about it, this is Hasbrouck Heights' most difficult challenge. Very big Shabazz team, very athletic Shabazz team. If Hasbrouck Heights plays an A game, they have a shot to win this. I'm going to go with Hasbrouck Heights just because of the local flavor. But they playing down in Newark on Friday night instead of having that home game core, which they would have had in North 1, Group 1, is a tremendous difference there. But I'm going to give, we followed Hasbrouck Heights. I'm going to go with Hasbrouck Heights to win the game.
I think you said it perfectly. I mean, it's for them to be on the road in this situation. And listen, Shabazz deserves to be at home too. Shabazz should be the number 1 seed at home in North 2 Group 1, and the Heights should be the same in North 1 Group 1. But I'm going with you, Jimmy. Hasbrouck Heights, we talked about what a tough road it would be. So far, they have outscored their opponents in the 2 playoff games 68-6. One undefeated, one named Weequahic. So I think the Aviators are rolling. And, Brian, what says you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you guys. I mean, really, on this side of the bracket is kind of like should have been the bowl game.
Yep.
This should have been the final, and those two teams should have met each other there, because whoever wins this is likely to win the group, you know what I mean, in the bowl game. Shabazz, I saw them early in the year. They are quick, they are fast, and they're big. Heights needs to neutralize them just like they neutralized Weequahic. If they can do that, I think they can win. I'm going to stick with the home team, the Aviators. I like them. We like Nick and the gang. So it's going to be a battle. They got to go down and travel. So we'll see how they got to get ready for that, and hope they do. I pick Heights.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Shockingly here, as we move over to North 1 Group 2, we got no local teams left, which is, pretty surprising considering, not based on seeds this year, but just in the teams included in North 1 Group 2 this year. It's an all-Sussex County final. It's Newton, and it's Kittatinny. We're not going to pick it because, we're going to stay local. North 2 Group 2, we talked about it with Coach Richie Tuero. Lyndhurst, Rutherford, the only thing left to say about it is, who you got, Jimmy?
Well, going in, I think the one strength that Rutherford has is their safeties coming downhill against the run. We saw it against Hasbrouck Heights. They were able to get some negative plays against Heights in the run game. I think for Lyndhurst to win this game, they're going to have to be able to keep Rutherford honest as far as maybe going play action early on first down and throwing the ball to keep them honest. If they're able to throw the ball, I see Lyndhurst with a very good chance. If they can't run the football, I think it's going to be a Rutherford night. I think in a close game, and no disrespect to Lyndhurst, I think Rutherford might have just a little bit too much. I'm going to go with Rutherford.
Jimmy's got Rutherford. How about you, Bri?
We're kind of on the bandwagon for Lyndhurst. We saw him last week. But I think, until you dethrone the champs, the Rutherford Bulldogs are still the champs. I think, the loss to Hasbrouck Heights in the NJSC championship game is going to, put some fuel in their belly. And I think Johnny Mendez and Kyle Russell and our friend Lawson Fisher will step up. And like Jimmy said, too, I think they're going to probably know to stop the running game. They got to stop the running game for Lyndhurst, and they should be able to do that. I think the difference, too, is Rutherford throws the ball well, so they have a little bit better throwing. Nothing against Lyndhurst. They can throw. But I just think Rutherford, they've been playoff ready. Last year they made their first one. This year is their first game at home in a state final. So I picked those guys, the Bulldogs and Andy Howell, to squeak it out. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It'll be a close game. And hopefully it's fun, and now you got me thinking about going down there.
I think we all have similar thoughts after talking to Coach Richie Tuero earlier in the show here. Now, see, this is a tough one for me because, as the show's host, you get a guy on like that who's so passionate. I enjoyed the heck out of that conversation that we just had with him. He said we're allowed to jump on the bandwagon, but I got friends in Rutherford. I like Andy Howell. He comes on the show. I know Nicky DeBarry down there. He's an administrator. I got to cover games down there. So I got to keep people on my side. I got Carmen Spina, the baseball coach. He's a friend. I'm taking Lyndhurst. Thank you, Richie Tuero. All right, I got that. I'm taking Lyndhurst, yes, because you guys are both taking Rutherford, and if I want to win this thing, and listen, the stakes for this, for entertainment purposes, is the Italian hero that we were talking about with Richie Tuero earlier. Losers have to buy the winner, the Italian hero of his choice from somewhere on Ridge Road down there in southern Bergen County. So Lyndhurst is going to get it done for me. So North 1, Group 3. We talked about it earlier. I mean, Ramapo has been, and you know what? I think we've kind of given short shrift to Ramapo this season on the show. They've just been so impressive. They've played everybody. They played the 9th game against an undefeated team that they didn't have to. They shut them out. They have, 31-7 in the first round. 42-33 against a good Sparta team. To beat Sparta twice in a season is impressive. They're the number 1 seed, and they got Riverdale in the final. Now, this one sets up just like last year. Ramapo beat Riverdale during the regular season. They got a rematch in Giant Stadium. This year it'll be on the home field of the Fighting Green Raiders. Jimmy, I need to hear your logic before I can make an informed decision.
Well, the one thing, obviously, Ramapo's been tremendous all season. We were, Corey, Brian and I were at the first game when Riverdale had a 2-touchdown lead with just under 9 minutes left. Ramapo was able to, tie it, go to overtime, held Riverdale on the 1-yard line on 3rd and 4th down. And we kind of said to ourselves, you know what, this is, these teams are going to meet again. And sure enough, and, there's something to be said about Coach Nymphes there. When you beat him once, he comes back and he beats you the second time. And I just have a strange feeling that Riverdale is going to find a way to get it done again. So I'm going to go with Riverdale and another close classic game over Ramapo.
Bri?
Oh, man. I think, it's been Ramapo's year so far, undefeated season. Their running game is pretty solid. Luca Groen is kind of running wild, and we saw them run wild. I forget which game it was. Up at Wayne. We saw them up at Wayne Hills, play Wayne Hills, and Wayne Hills, pretty high seed in their bracket. Luca Groen is really running well, and A.J. Winfield. I like Riverdale's a good team, and I've seen them, and I like them. They have a lot of talent, but I kind of give the edge with that running game to Ramapo. Just a little bit more running inside, and Luca Groen's really solid and ran for about almost 200 yards last week. And I saw him run for quite a bit against Wayne Hills, another playoff team. So that's my pick with Ramapo.
Yeah, I'm just going to say Ramapo and move on because I don't even want to give an explanation. I don't want to piss anybody off. So I said it quietly. Ramapo's going to win. Okay. North 2, Group 3. We got no dogs in the fight. We'll skip it. North 1, Group 4. We got a lot of dogs in the fight. We had John Jacob, the offensive coordinator from Wayne Hills, on the show last week. It was a great spot. We appreciate it. They're the number 1 seed, coming off a dominating 42-7 performance in the semifinals over Morris Knowles. And then we have number 2 seeded Old Tappan, took care of business against Wayne Valley 24-8 to advance. And you see, okay, Old Tappan is the defending champion. Old Tappan is the number 2 seed. This is where they should be, but it really doesn't tell the story of the Old Tappan season. They have battled injury. They had tremendous graduation losses from last year's team, and they have. It hasn't always been pretty this season, but it's once again effective. They are back in a state sectional semifinal. My daughter is the manager. I am taking Northern Valley Old Tappan to just keep dragging themselves one more step over the line. I mean, we do have a bronze statue of Old Tappan head coach Brian Dunn at the Traffic Circle right here in downtown Northvale. Come by and see it sometime. Jimmy, where do you go?
Again, you mentioned Old Tappan. This might be a better job, the best job they've done in the last 5 or 6 years, and they've done a great job every year. I mean, you mentioned injuries. You mentioned big graduation losses. They played earlier in the year, and they had a tough time containing Mr. Njoku at Wayne Hills, the ultra-talented Missouri-committed wide receiver. I just think Wayne Hills has a little too much offensively with Sharkey at quarterback, Hayek, the other wide receiver, who's also over 1,000 yards. Njoku's just under. I just think Wayne Hills has just a little bit more big playability. I'm going to go with Wayne Hills.
You are betting with your head. Well, I am doing so with my heart. Go ahead, Bri.
Yeah, I think, I really like Old Tappan. You're talking about this is their 3rd year in a row in the finals. They won one and they've lost one, and they probably should have won that other one maybe against Riverdale. The Magic Man kind of beat them that 1 year.
Yep.
Old Tappan is having a great season. And like you said earlier, the injury bug has been tough on them. If they had all their weapons, I think I would go, pick them. But since there seems to be Johnny Lawler, different players questionable, I got to go, it's like an all-star team up there, Wayne Hills. You got Sharkey at quarterback, Njoku. You got Hayek. you got some of the two best receivers. I think they have almost the most yards in the North Jersey. I don't know how you go against them. Plus they beat Old Japan early in the year, 35-16. So I just give the edge to Wayne Hills. I do, I hope you're right, Corey, and Old Japan wins. But I just, based on my heart, I got to go with Wayne Hills.
Now, you did hear that Tom Cashel. You did hear that Brian Dunn. I am the only one of this trio who decided to choose the underdog, Northern Valley Old Japan Fighting Gold Knights. All right. North 2, Group 4. Again, no dogs in the fight. That brings us to North 1, Group 5, where Ridgewood just keeps, very similar to Old Japan. Just keeps themselves in it. Beat Passaic Tech in the first round. Clifton gave them all they could handle in a 21-14 game. But, Ridgewood is not out of it until Ridgewood's out of it, and they are not out of it. They will be up against number 1 Montclair, a 47-12 winner over North Bergen. It's going to be a tough one for the Maroons, but again, going by the law of geography that I have created around this NorthJerseySports.com website, I'm taking Ridgewood because they are in a home county. Bri, let's start with you.
Well, I was, Montclair has had an up-and-down season early in the year. They win a game, they lose a game. Montclair, their history, they've been in the playoffs here. They've won 8 titles. They've been in the finals like 20 times, and they've had 26 appearances. So Montclair, I go with, high expectations. They have won the last couple of games. They came back and beat a West Orange team they lost to early in the year. Soundly. They beat them 35-0. And then they beat last week North Bergen at 47-12. Just based on, I kind of get a little pedigree. I have seen Ridgewood, nice local team. They grind it out.
Yep.
I just think that Montclair's got a little bit more in the, the speed and the skill that may, and Ridgewood maybe can't keep up with them. And I think that's what you saw last week. Clifton, they had a struggle with Clifton to come out with that a 21-14 win. I just think Montclair's got a little bit too much ammunition, and that's my pick. I hate to go against the local Bergen County team, but I just got to go with who I think is going to win.
It's not easy making these picks, is it, Jimmy?
Yeah.
It's tough because your heart, you get to know people and you want to see them do well, and then your mind tells you something else. But I think Brian's right in this game. I think it comes down to a big play capability team in Montclair. Had some early season losses. Were very, very young team. Seems to be putting it all together at the right time. And you got Ridgewood, who's a grind it out, trying to keep the ball away from your team. It's a very, very like boxing matches, styles make fights, and I think this is going to be a good one. Who can dictate to how the game's going to be played? If it's an up and down shootout game, obviously it goes to Montclair. If it's a possession by possession game, it's Ridgewood. I'm going to go with Montclair for the only reason is it's down there at Woodman Field.
Okay, Montclair it is. North 2, Group 5, and on the fringe of the NorthJerseySports.com coverage area, that's where you will find the Union City Soaring Eagles, again, moved to North 2, similar fate that Hasbrouck Heights had, and, for their efforts, they get a road trip to Piscataway. I know very little about either team, but I'm going to stick to my rule, and I'm going to take Union City just because they've done so many good things here. They've come so close to winning a state sectional championship, and for their sake, I hope the Soaring Eagles break through. Bri?
I'd hope to too. I mean, we saw them. I saw them up on the roof this year, my first time on the roof, and Alvarez, the running back, is dynamic, can score at any time, But Piscataway, again, haven't seen Piscataway, but they've been dominating all year. Undefeated team, I think, if I'm not mistaken, undefeated, number 1 seed. So I kind of lead to Piscataway, a team I played when I was in high school, and we competed with them well. So, but it's a pick 'em game either way. But I just think Piscataway may win it.
Piscataway for Brian. Jimmy?
As you mentioned, Coach Valdez has done a tremendous job with this team this year. They're in a final. He's been to the dance a lot. It hasn't worked out the way he wanted it, obviously, but he's there every year. I just think he's facing a different animal in Piscataway, a very big, talented, athletic, offensive team, and their defense has been suffocating all year. I would want to mention one thing that has nothing to do with the game. They won their semifinal game. Apparently their opponent's star running back got hurt in the game, and there's a video after the game of all the Piscataway kids running over to the sideline and basically just saying to good luck to the kid and checking out. See, that's what high school football is supposed to be all about, instead of born indexes and you got to win by this or that. So, congratulations. I commend Piscataway for that, and I think Piscataway comes home. They're ranked third in the state right now. I think they come home with that title.
I think we're going to suspend the North Jersey-centric rule here, listening to Jimmy's pearls of wisdom and hearing the sportsmanship displayed by Piscataway. I like it. I'm changing my pick. Piscataway across the board here. All right, we got two left. Well, here's the thing. We move over to the non-publics now. Big boy football. Non-public Group 3. We got no dogs left in the fight. As Jimmy mentioned earlier in the show, DePaul, a banged-up DePaul team went down at the hands of modern-day prep. Jimmy, listen, there's no excuses. It's what the scoreboard shows at the end of the game is who goes on and who goes home. But not a full contingent of players for DePaul, and not that they would make the excuse, but they were banged up.
Obviously, when you lose an All-American and Ronnie Hickman going to Ohio State commit, it hurts you not only defensively but at the offensive end. But I'll tell you what, Gore, I was very, very impressed with Matter Day. From the minute they walked on the field, you just said to yourself, oh boy, this could be trouble. They took the opening kickoff. They put together a 17-play drive, predominantly running the football, took it out, scored, held DePaul, and then went in again, 14-0, middle of the first quarter. And, to DePaul's credit, they fought back, made it a very, very good game. They took a lead with about, 4 minutes left, and you got to give Matter Day credit. They went right back down the field, completed a big touchdown pass, took the lead. DePaul went all the way back down the field, got the ball. It was on the 4-yard line with 4 seconds left, and they ran a trick play. They tried to roll right and a throwback. And, to Matter Day's credit, their cornerback was in perfect position and knocked the ball down. And, I know people in the other media calling it a big shock and a big upset, but when you were at the game and you saw the type of players Matter Day has, it really wasn't as shocking as they would like you to believe.
A South Jersey non-public stepping up to the plate for the first time, really. Interesting. All right, so now we move over to non-public Group 4 here. The only thing I will say from the quarterfinal round was the close game in Montvale against, we were laughing, Jimmy, last week. We even said 2.5-hour ride up, running clock in the first half, back on the bus. Not the case. St. Joe's got 3 field goals from their talented kicker, and they won 16-8 on their home field against St. Augustine. Does that presage anything for this upcoming weekend, or was that just a one-off and Joe's gets back in gear against St. Peter's Prep this week?
Well, I think it was a two-part thing, Corey. I thought, from what I understand, their defense was getting St. Joe's. So for their defense, St. Augustine scored on an interception return. So their defense pitched the shutout. Offensively, St. Joe's has become a little bit of an enigma. Very talented, very big up front, and just struggling to score points. Obviously, you mentioned they have the shoe field goal kicker, which is a dangerous weapon, but it was at that point of the interception, it was a 16-0 game, a dominating performance defensively, but you got to figure St. Joe's is going to have to start converting some of those threes into sevens if they want to win a championship.
So your pick for St. Joe's St. Peter's Prep?
I think St. Joe's at home, I think that makes all the difference in the world. I think Joe's will win that game. Their defense has been very, very good, as we mentioned. I'm going to go with St. Joe's over St. Peter's.
All right, I am going to do the reverse. I am going to take St. Peter's Prep. I just think when they get it rolling, judging by the scores and who they beat. I mean, listen, I know they can go out there and throw a clunker in every now and again, too. It's a matter of picking which team you think is going to show up. I think if you see the good St. Peter's Prep this weekend in Montvale, it's going to be the number 3 seed over the number 2. So you went with St. Joe's. I'm going with St. Peter's Prep. Bri, you?
I think based on history, typically Peters doesn't travel well, typically, and I don't remember seeing them too much ever beat Joe's up there or even Bergen up here. So, they both have good athletes, both teams. Peters got a lot, quarterback solid, they got good receivers, a lot of speed on their team. It's that whole, until they beat, when they go away, until they beat somebody away, they have, I'm going to go against them. Joe's at home, and we saw him play at home. Joe's beat him 16-7. It was a slow, grinded out in the rain. But I just think Joe's, has enough talent up front and line and running that they can win this game.
Joe's for Brian. Brings us to our last pick of the evening here. Brian, we'll start with you. A number 1 Bergen Catholic, a 42-6 winner over Seton Hall Prep. And number 4, Don Bosco Prep, a 42-22 win over number 5, Dell Barton. It means the 2 old rivals will see each other again this weekend in Oradell on a Saturday afternoon. What do you think, Bri?
It's, Bosco now seems to have stepped it up and gotten their team. They may have been young coming into the season. They have 2 talented running backs. I just, Bosco is scary at this point, I think. Bergen, Bergen's been winning and winning and winning. It's a tough call here. Bergen plays well, they should win. That's all. But if Bergen doesn't have their A game, Bosco's going to win. So who do you take? Who do you pick?
That was my question to you.
You let Jimmy go. Let Jimmy talk, and then I'll pick it after Jimmy.
Listen, that's been my strategy all night. Listen to Jimmy break down games and then make a pick after.
Right,
go ahead, Jimmy.
What do you got, Jimmy?
Well, you mentioned they played earlier. We were there. It was a 14-13 game. It was a little bit of a sluggish performance by both teams. Going into that game, we thought Bergen would have a decided edge at the line of scrimmage, both offensively and defense, and it didn't really materialize that day. Don Bosco, their 2 running backs, Jalen Berger and Manungwai, have been putting up big numbers the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think Bosco's going to come in confident, and I think ultimately it's going to come down to can Bosco block Bergen's defensive front and have the ability to run the football. I just think Bergen's going to be a little bit better this week, and I'm going to go with Bergen Catholic.
Bergen Catholic for Jimmy. Brian, no escaping that. You got to make a pick.
Oh, jeez, this is a tough one. You know what? I'm going to go with the upstarts. I have a feeling Bosco's back, and I'm going to root for the Bosco, the traditional power, and let Bergen have to beat him. Give them 9-1. Beat him. Show me what you got.
I heard Jimmy tonight, and he makes a compelling argument for Bergen Catholic. But I hang on Jimmy Avatabele's every word now through Season 6, this being the 12th episode, plus a couple of special episodes that we've thrown in there. It's the 14th or 15th show. I have listened to every word he has said all year long. He's been on the Bosco bandwagon, even if he doesn't realize it. So I am going to disregard this week's Jimmy. I am going to go with week 1 through 11, Jimmy. And I am taking Don Bosco Prep. And now I am off to watch my beloved University of Vermont Catamounts take a visit to Fog Island Fieldhouse and play number 1 Kansas on the road in college hoops. We will see you next week on The Football Show.
Follow the leader.